It means perhaps maybe he didn't agree with the other one, and finally Ribadu had to submit the other one to the president,
But
knowing full well that we had a different report submitted to the minister
as it is
of
today,
Petroleum.
we do not have, other than people going on newspaper pages and saying we did not agree with the report. They have not even come up with their own reports. That is what I'm saying is they should, Oronsoye and Oti, as Ribadu was presenting his majority report, they are also presenting their minority report. Not saying we do not agree, and yet you do not have a basis, you do not have anything in writing other than words of mouth. In fact, the presidency should have sent Oronsoye out of that place.
Okay, let's get Madam Ribadu, I beg your pardon, Madam El-Rufai, into this matter, because let me ask you, do you think that this committee stuck with their terms of reference? Because there are people who say that if they did, there'll be no need for all of this in the first place.
I think they stuck to the terms of reference largely. Now, as I said, the oil industry is very complicated, and it is impossible within a few months to appreciate and understand everything about it. But I think they worked within their terms of reference, and I think that what they have given is adequate basis to begin to implement reforms within the industry if the government is well-meaning. Of course, if the government is looking for an excuse to throw it out, there will be many. No human report is perfect. But I think that a lot has come out of this report that a well-meaning government can take and deepen and broaden the recommendations and implement so that we have a better run oil industry. This is my honest
what do you think about the fact that different versions of this report are being bandied now? One version, which was leaked to the press, and then they've got another version, which they say, as the previous gentleman, they say was submitted to the president, and they just ask themselves, what's the intention of all of this in the first instance? Why would you leak, even though they question how that report got leaked to the press, and then you have a different version? So some think that the intention in the first instance was to make no sense of the whole thing.
Well, there are not two versions of the report. There are two bound reports that look different, but substantively, the contents of the reports are the same. The only thing that may be different is the covering letter forwarding the report, which included the so-called disclaimer. But for me, you know, somebody submitting a report and saying that I have figures, but you need to cross-check them, does not make the report incomplete or useless. In fact, it is an admission that I have not looked deeply in this area, and I think that honesty is necessary. In any case, as I said, every report, however perfect, submitted to government is subject to the white paper process and so on and so forth before implementation. And it is not every recommendation that the government will accept. So let the government go through the motions of accepting this report, line by line recommendation, and telling us what they are going to do next. They should not question the integrity of the whole report just because a couple of members, clearly with interest, have spoken out against the report. The report is substantially okay. More than 20 members of the committee have not come out to say that they disown the report. The other three have not written a minority report. Steve Oronsoye and Nuhu Ribadu are both friends of mine. But here, I must say, Steve is wrong to say that because of his fidelity to process as an accountant, the whole report should be thrown out. I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
Well, anyway, I think from what we got from Steve Oronsoye, he didn't actually say that the report should be thrown out. You remember on that day, he was actually faulting the process leading up to that particular outcome. He didn't say that the content, he never said anything about the content, but perhaps talking about the process.
Yeah, he didn't go that far, but that's the implication. That's the implication. As a civil servant, he said, if the process is faulty, the report is also deemed faulty. He implied that, and I don't agree. I think that the report is substantially, the two versions are substantially the same. Many of the recommendations, if implemented, will improve our oil industry, will make it go forward. Let us forget personalities. Let us take the content of the report and proceed with it, for God's sake. Let's not play these games of setting up committees and then taking the reports and putting them in the drawer. Nobody will take that anymore in this country.
Yeah, I'm quite sure the Nigerians watching now will also be worried. Remember then, even George Ekoli raised his own objections, or should I say worry, about this particular report before it was presented to the president. How come no one even listened to him then?
Well, I don't know. I have not read George Ekoli's objections. I haven't come across that. I know about Steve's and Oti. I haven't read George Ekoli's. But for me, no report is perfect. There will always be something in the report that you can take, latch onto it and try to use it to discredit the report. We've seen that with the Farouk Lawan report. Because he was alleged to have collected a bribe, people want us to ignore the whole report, even though the facts there are clear. And I'm happy that, the EFCC at least has been, putting these people through a prosecution process. So, but the initial gut reaction of the government is to try to discredit the entire report just because one member of the committee has collected a bribe allegedly. We can't work like that. We can't be a country in which we continue to bury wrongdoing by picking one little thing and using it to throw the baby with the bathwater. This is unacceptable. Civil society will not stand for this. Those of us in opposition politics will not stand for this. We will go for the meat of this report and will insist that it should be implemented.
Well, perhaps that's why we're looking at the oil probes. And now you just mentioned the Farouk Lawan matter. Chamberlain asked a little earlier that you also once served in the government. Maybe you should also give us some insight. Does any government at any point in time set up a committee or a probe with the intention to make it look like what we're seeing now, or with the intention to fail?
Yes. Governments do that sometimes. Governments, when under pressure, can set up a committee to take the heat off, for tempers to calm down, and then hope to bury the report. Governments do it all over the world. It's not just in Nigeria. It is done. We have all done it at one point or the other. But sometimes, setting up these committees to get the heat off you can also come up with very revealing recommendations and policy directions that could help you. What my appeal to the Jonathan government is, look, we know that you set up all these probe committees in the aftermath of the fuel subsidy protests, and you wanted to take the heat off you. But for God's sake, put the interests of Nigeria first for once, and look at what they have recommended and implement them so that we'll have a better country that works for everybody, not just for the few of you that are in government that are enjoying this corruption and inefficiency and lack of transparency. Let us draw a line and begin to govern our country better for the benefit of all. That is our appeal. That is what we'll insist. That is what we'll demand, and that's what every Nigerian should demand.
Well, let me get you in here, because he says government sometimes set up these committees for different reasons, including for maybe to take it all easy. But you didn't tell us that governments do this, because you've been in government too. And so does that mean that it's the same practice everywhere?
Well, I've not been in the executive arm of government.
That's government.
Sorry.
Executive, and
on a serious note, I agree with Malam that these things do happen. There are sometimes political tools to douse tension. Sometimes, but like you said, when you also do this, and they bring up some revelations, please take them, make use of them, and it could even help you.
Is there anyone who could use in the Farouk Lawan report, in spite of the fact that, look...
in the Farouk Lawan report, there is a lot to use there. The controversy over Xenon...
Yeah, but how do you use it when people are going to court saying the fundamental essence upon which that report is predicated is faulty in the first place? Because if it's proven that he actually collected a bribe by a competent court of law, what becomes of the report?
Look, the Farouk Lawan Committee report has said, and anyway, no matter what the report says, the House of Representatives, the presidency, or indeed any one of them, cannot ordinarily pick up the report and base their prosecution on that. We will still have the law enforcement agency, in the EFCC, in the police, that have powers to further investigation. They'll probably be given a lead. What you have is a lead. And I think that is the lead that the EFCC has taken up and is now going through the prosecuting process for some alleged oil subsidy scammers. So no matter how bad they report it, no matter how, I mean, whether it followed process, like Orosanye is now saying, that it follows process. I mean, if you say something not follow process, the outcome is something that stands on no foundation, certainly cannot stand.